Well, hey there, how you doing? Dave Fenoy here, and back again. Ask Dave Fenoy anything. Been kind of iffy for the last few weeks. It's summertime. I've had clients that wanted me on Wednesdays, from 5 to 7, that kind of thing. So missed a little bit. I've had a few guests that had to cancel for one reason or another. But, we're into August now. We're heading for September. Maybe it's kind of like school. We'll become much more consistent as we get into the fall. Just want to say hello to everybody. This gives me a chance, without a guest, to anybody that just pops in and wants to say hello. I can take a little time and say hello to you. So let's see who's here. And why is that... having a few little tech difficulties here. Now we're getting over the tech difficulties, and there they are. So, hello to Kalilia Mao Seeking Bao. Hello, Globert. From Mixels, a cartoon that I was in a number of years ago. Let's say hello to Jerry Adams. How you doing, Jerry? Great to see you again, Dave. Great to see you, Jerry, there, or at least... that there, great to be seen, and a regular fan all the time. Stacy, the Walking Dead game fan. Hi, Dave. Hope you're doing well, my friend. I am doing well, and right back at you, Stacy. Quick hello to Squee. Okay, that's a great little name. We're going to talk about a bunch of different things today. JWT 2023 ID. Which tells me absolutely nothing about who you are, but whoever you are, I hope you're doing okay. I am doing just fine. Thank you for asking. A lot of things to talk about today. Let's start with something. We'll talk about backyard jazz. My wife and I, a number of years ago, before the pandemic, in the times before the pandemic, in the olden times, we used to do this thing called backyard jazz. When we got this house, a friend of ours pointed out, hey, you got a little amphitheater here. You could put on plays and concerts. And we decided to put on concerts. And after a few, you know what? We should turn this into something that benefits something else. And the Backyard Jazz Foundation was created, and we raised money for inner city music programs. We have expanded that now. I'll tell you about that in a little bit. But we are coming back this year. We're planning to have several next year. But one of the groups we had that everybody loved, Biscuits and Gravy. They're an old school R&B band. They play all your favorite hits from the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and even some things that are going on now. And this is going to be happening on Sunday, September 1st, 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. It's $65, but your money is going to two good causes. One, inner city music programs, and two, we are supporting Kamala. So we're going to be making a donation to the Kamala campaign. Proud to do it and happy about it. Once again, $65. Just visit backyardjazz.org. You can buy your tickets there. And it's really a deal for you. You get there 2 o'clock. We have mingling and mimosas. 3 o'clock, the music hits. They play an hour. Then we feed you. Yeah, we feed you dinner. And then after that hour, from 5 to 6, one more set. And then thank you, goodbye. A great time is had by all. I'll have a lot of voiceover buddies, people in the neighborhood, some celebrity friends, and if you like good music and you like people, and you like to smile and laugh and tap your toes and dance a little bit, this is for you. All right. Also, it's back to school time. So for my coaching sessions, if you are interested in coaching with me, it's always cheaper to buy a package, and cheaper now because you can get 20% off on all my coaching packages, 5, 10, 20 with coupon code FALL20. How simple is that? FALL20, now through the end of October. All right, so FALL20 is the code. Now, something I usually don't do, which is kind of talk about politics a little bit there. We'll touch on it. I think anybody who's listened to me, friend of mine for a while, knows I am very progressive. I'm a great believer in unions, in workers' rights. I think our country has been taken over by the billionaire class. Their salaries of CEOs and ownership has gone up just amazingly over the last 50, 60 years. Meanwhile, working people, despite the fact that the cost of everything has risen, salaries have not risen. The cost of going to college has risen. But the jobs you might get after going to college aren't paying that much. We're in a very precarious place here in the United States. And of course, the powers that be do that thing that all powerful people have done, is point the finger at someone else. So you've got a lot of workers, let's say white workers, who have been told, oh, you could make more money. Your life would be better if only it wasn't for insert group over there. Doesn't matter which group. It's divide and conquer. It's let's keep all the money. We talk about inflation. We don't really have inflation. What we have is greed. We have record profits from all the huge corporations, record profits. They're bragging about it. They're buying back their stock so they can make more money, something that used to be illegal a long time ago because it's not good for the mass of people. So we got to vote, people. We got to vote. And you, for whatever reason, may love Donald Trump. He's not doing you any favors. I don't know how you felt just a few weeks ago. Joe Biden has been a great politician his entire life. He devoted his life to serving America. And his thrust was always working people. It was always, let's help people do better. Am I going to say I've agreed with everything he's ever done? No. But you got to look at where people's hearts are and where they're really trying to go. Once that debate happened, and it was so difficult for him to find his thoughts, find his words, to lose his train of thought. Now, I still felt like Joe's our guy, not just because of Joe, but because of the people around Joe, the people he has put around him, the people who knows the direction he's trying to go in. And he's not so addled that he didn't know what needed to be done. He was having problems having speech or saying what he needed to say. He was having problems with energy. Not that the other guy, Donald Trump, was much better. But Joe listened to a lot of people who said, Joe, you're not going to win this thing. And was it 3 weeks ago? He said, okay, I'm not going to run. I'm supporting Kamala. And did you notice the difference in the feel of America then? Did you know? I was ecstatic. Yes, thank you, Joe. Appreciate what you've done, but it's time to pass the ball. I didn't realize that Kamala would have the effect on us that she had. I was very happy that he passed the ball to her, but I started hearing from some of my young friends, my daughters, who were excited suddenly about voting for Kamala. And she has just turned out, wow. Well, let's see. There she is. With who is going to be our new vice president, our next president and vice president. Loved his speech the other day. One of my favorite lines was when he was telling the truth about when there was the most crime in the last few years, and it was under Trump. And then again, yeah, well, that's the truth. We had more crime then. And I'm not even talking about the crimes he committed. Ho, ho, ho. The crowd went wild. And of course, Trump went to talk to the black, now I'm forgetting the group. He went to the National Association of Black Journalists and was asked some tough questions. And when Kamala came up, his point was to say, well, I didn't know she was black. I thought she was claiming being Indian, Southeast Asian. She only started being black. Really? This is a woman who went to Howard University, a historically black university. She has never run away from either side of her heritage. Her father, who was from Jamaica, her mother, who was from India. She's never run away. She is who she is, who she is, who she is. And she's been that person, and although she's been a prosecutor, she was a prosecutor not just of poor folks who committed crime. She was a prosecutor who prosecuted people who did business crimes as well that affected the population. I look at J.D. Vance and some of the things he has said, the idea whether the cat ladies, single women with cats ruining the country, insane. And when white supremacists attacked his wife, this was his quote. Look, I love my wife so much. I love her because she's who she is. I'm glad he loves his wife. He should. Obviously, she's not a white person. What? And so what? What? Is it like, obviously she's not a white person, and my thought there is that, well, yeah, she's not really as good, or, you know, sorry. And we've been accused, attacked by some white supremacists over that. But I just love Usha. Why isn't he attacking the white supremacists who attacked his wife? That's who he should be attacking. He shouldn't be defending her. Well, she's not white, but. Do you hear where I'm coming from? And then what she had to say about his single cat women line. My husband only meant to insult people who actively choose not to have kids, not people who are trying but are unsuccessful. She did not touch on his claim that people who don't have kids are most sociopathic. Wow. Just the insanity. Oh, or as Tim Walz said, weird. Just weird. This is America. This is the land of the free. You want to have kids, have kids. You don't want to have kids, don't have kids. It doesn't matter. You're not a better or worse person because you do or don't. All right. Anyway, what have you got to say? What are your thoughts? How do you feel about the change we've had? Biden not running, Kamala Harris and Tim Walz becoming the presidential and vice presidential candidates. What's going on with you? I'm just going to randomly go through some of these comments. Still getting some fan. And I really appreciate it. Those of you who are fans of my work and are popping by and saying hi and reminding me of playing Globert. It was a lot of fun to play. But how do you feel about America right now? How do you feel about your future right now? The direction that hopefully we are going in now. Seth Steele, can you say something in your Krog voice? I'm just going to pass on that because I'm kind of doing a different thing here. Joy West, hi Dave. It's good seeing you, and good seeing you, Joy. All the best. Once again. Oh, I should bring up something else while we're talking. We're on strike again. SAG-AFTRA is on strike. We're on strike against the video game companies. And why? Because of AI. What we are trying to do as members of SAG-AFTRA, as members of NAVA, the National Association of Voice Actors, is protect voiceover workers, to keep our jobs, to keep from companies, we sampled your voice, now we're just going to use it without paying you. And we're not even going to bother to tell you that we did it. We're just going to do it. That's what they would love to be able to do. People who are doing mocap, that's when you're in that black suit and they're filming you while you may be speaking lines. A lot of times I will have done a voice and somebody else is doing the mocap. They did not want to include mocap actors in the AI contract. But we decided, nope, we're going to support mocap actors as well. Where do you think this is going? What are your thoughts on where we are with AI? Once again, I'm not going to say AI is completely and horribly bad. AI is going to give a lot of us an opportunity to, work while we sleep. But we need to be able to control our voices, be paid for our voices, decide what our voices are going to be used on. But there's got to be a way, I would like to hire the voice of Dave Fennoy. We're going to pay X amount of dollars for that voice. We have to get permission from Dave Fennoy because this might be a product that Dave Fennoy does not want to endorse or a political campaign he does not want to endorse. Should be my choice. This is what we're looking for in our contracts with AI. There was a wonderful time in this country, not perfect for everybody, from shortly after World War II to about 1980. Unions were strong. Were we all included in the miracle of America? No. Black people certainly weren't, and a whole lot of other people as well. But the foundation was there for working people. A person could get a job, raise their family, buy a house, send their kids to college on one salary. And I'm not saying women shouldn't work. Women should be able to do whatever the hell they want to do. But we're in a situation now because of the powers that be that salaries have not kept up with the cost of living. And it's been a plan. One of the reasons is it was also a time when people started thinking. They were comfortable enough to take a little time to say, you know what? That's not right. We should fix that. You know what? Black people should be able to do that. You know what? We should be able to get clean water. And people started looking at issues, problems, that maybe we're going to cut a little money from the very rich, from the corporations, from the oil companies. They didn't want that. And one of the ways to get rid of you spending too much time thinking and doing things was to make it difficult for your life. Oh, you're going to have to work 2 or 3 jobs. You're not going to have time to worry about these other things. You're going to be too busy trying to save your own butt. All right, let's go over here. Wendy Baines, America. We are a maturing, growing, changing country. I love America. Had the privilege to donate during Comics for Kamala on Monday. Fantastic and good for you. And by the way, what's the old saying? Love America or leave it. I'm reminded of a line, I think it was Chris Rock, that said, we love America. But America, for black folks, is like an uncle that sent you through college, but molested you. We have a love-hate relationship with America, just like we have a love-hate relationship with so many things in our lives. We all have friends we love, and they do something annoying. I am sure that the people who love me also find me annoying in some way. This is just the way of the world. But we still have to show up for each other. Let's see. And we're back to Krog with Russian accent. I didn't eat the door. I did not eat the door, okay? You better with that? All right, sounds good. And you got another one there, list one, me. Glober, not fast cowboys. You dare enter the secret? No, that wasn't Glober's voice. I'm trying to be serious here. We're having a thing. Well, you know what? I'll change up. Had to get some of that out of me. Been watching the Olympics. Man, how are they covering all of these sports? And actually, I don't think they're really able to cover it all, but they're doing an amazing job doing the very best they can. It's too many sports packed into too few days. But it's happening. What's been your favorite sport? What has inspired you about the Olympics? I was just watching some pole vaulting, the women pole vaulting, and the other day I was watching the men pole vaulting. And when I was in high school, I ran track. I did sprints, long jump, and pole vault. So I ran the 100, the 200, pole vault, and high jump, long jump. Did I see? Yeah, they do have long jump in the Olympics now. But it was a different world. And how I began pole vaulting, my father's from East St. Louis, Illinois. This is a very different Ask Dave for Know Anything, isn't it? My father's from East St. Louis, Illinois, and every year when I was a kid, we would go visit my grandfather and grandmother. And my grandfather was a contractor and carpenter who built the house that he and his wife lived in, and she was a cosmetologist who ran a cosmetology school that was built on the back of the house that he had built. This was a nice 2-story house. It was a big house for the time in a black neighborhood. Most of the houses were maybe 1,200 square feet. This house was more like 3,000 square feet. And one of the fun things to do was when nobody was in that cosmetology school, go back and play with the barber chairs and the shears and the sinks and so forth and so on. But my cousins, I was the youngest cousin. So Pete, Nino, and Lavelle, these were my older cousins. And I was just glad to get to East St. Louis and hang with my older cousins back in the day. And they were all athletic. As a matter of fact, Nino Fenoy became one of the coaches of several later on Olympic runners. And I think it was probably Nino who came up with the idea, well, let's pole vault. And so in the backyard, uh, they put up two tall bars with nails on the end so you could put the crossbar across. Um, and somehow, somewhere, found a bunch of old mattresses that you would land in. And they dug a hole that you could jam that pole into. And this is before they had these fiberglass poles that bend and then shoot you up. We were doing it with bamboo. And I don't know how high I jumped. I don't think it was that high, but we sure had a lot of fun doing it. But once I had done that for a while, when my parents sent me to high school, I was able to go to a private boys' school growing up in the hood in Cleveland, but was one of the first black kids to go to this particular school, Hawkins School for Boys. And because I had pole vaulted in my grandmama's backyard into mattresses with a bamboo pole, I decided, yes, I'm going to pole vault here. And surprise, surprise, not only did I run the 100, the 200, the 400 relay, and long jump, but I also said, yeah, and I want to pole vault. Boy, did I get looks. But I was able to join the team and pole vault, made the team. I won't say I was the best pole vaulter on the team, but I was pretty good. I came in second several times in some of our tournaments. Let's see. Let's go Wendy Baines. U.S. women teams, fencing, gymnastics, etc. I enjoy the Olympics. Yes, I agree with you. There are so many events that it's very hard to keep up. That it is. That it is. And something else that I love about the Olympics, I'm noticing the diversity on display on so many teams. Now, you might see some of the Chinese teams and it's all Chinese people, but so many countries. The population is a group of everything. Certainly it is in America. We have some of everything. And when you look around at so many of the European countries, some of the island countries, huge, huge, huge diversity of people. One of my favorite people, Bernard Tanner. I hate AI. I can always tell the difference between AI and a human voice actor. It's the breaths, timing, pauses, pronunciations, inflections, etc. It never fools me. I hate it. You know what? You're absolutely right. Now, here's my fear. We got used to video that wasn't necessarily great. Why? Because everybody's got a video camera now. And has had one since long before we got video cameras in our phones. So people are able to shoot and display, and we as a society got used to not perfect videos. So much so, I remember some TV shows that were doing kind of monkey shots, and they'd have sun flares, and it became artistic, not a mistake, not cheap. We got used to it. And one of the things I'm afraid of is that the fact that when you're scrolling through Facebook videos or TikTok videos or whatever the videos are, you're becoming accustomed to those voices that are synthesized, that the tone is just a little off, how the phrases are ended are a little off. If they're also showing you the dialogue, that sometimes it's just wrong. You know what they said, and they wrote something else because it was AI. We're getting used to it. I'm worried about that. Let's see. Damon Allums, I love America more than any other country in this world, and exactly for this reason, I insist on the right to criticize her perpetually. James Baldwin. So true, so true, so true. Those of you who don't know who James Baldwin is, if you don't know, find out. he was an amazing writer, thinker, who wrote about, was on television often, interviewed about the condition of Black America. He was a gay man as well, who I don't think talked a lot about his gayness. He talked about his blackness. I think perhaps later in his life, he revealed that he was gay. This was a time when people wouldn't come out. But an amazing thinker. One of the things he said, he was on an interview and they were talking about, no, the American people are wonderful and they have good hearts. And he said, well, what am I to believe? These wonderful things that you are saying to me now, or how I am treated? What the things that happen, that I see happening. Can I believe what you say, or should I believe what you do? And that's wisdom. That's wisdom. That's wisdom. That's wisdom. Any other thoughts, questions? You want to talk? Well, let's talk a little bit about the Olympics. There are some Olympics out there some that we're not going to see, and some that they used to do, but they don't do anymore. The pentathlon was started by a French guy, the Baron Pierre de la Coubertin. And he started this as a way to help soldiers survive behind enemy lines. And there were several things you had to do in the pentathlon. One was mount an unfamiliar horse. Horses, like people, you just can't mount any horse that doesn't know you. So jump on an unfamiliar horse. You would also have a couple of rounds of fencing. You can tell how far back this went. You had to do a 200-meter swim, what they called a laser run, where you would run for a while and then you would shoot at targets. And all this happened over 3 days. By the way, speaking of an Olympic event that didn't last, shouldn't have lasted, and I just wonder why they even came up with it, was a pigeon shoot. It lasted, I think, 1 year. And the idea was to kill as many pigeons as you could. So you got a bunch of guys with shotguns, and they're just blasting away. Like I say, lasted 1 year. It's one of those things that, I don't think we thought this through. And let's see, Wendy Baines again. Dave, let me let the folks know that the film I Am Not Your Negro is available on Hulu. I Am Not Your Negro, yes. Yes. That is one that you'll want to see. What was I looking up here? From James Baldwin. That is one you'll want to see. I Am Not Your Negro. Let's see. What respect to the elder. Did we just become friends? Well, sure. Oh, what else did I jot down? Oh, anybody watch table tennis? I mean, I used to play, but the game I was playing was not anything like what they were playing. Just amazing. And we had, I believe I read, we had an American table tennis team beat the Chinese table tennis team. Now, when I say that, our team was Asian. Our team may have been ancestors in China, but they were Americans. They were Americans. And I want you to think a little bit about how you took that, especially some of you. How have you been programmed to think who an American is? I know in voiceover, there was a time you only heard white voices. If you heard a black voice, that black voice had to be selling something to a black audience. One of the things I love about our business now, and I insisted upon when I started in this business, is I don't want to be pigeonholed as only a black voice. I am happy to sell products, to speak for black causes, black products, black TV shows. But I don't want to be pigeonholed into, oh, you can only talk to people who look like you. We are Americans. We look like everybody. Every American should have the opportunity to speak to, for every other American, because we're Americans. That whole idea of what does an American look like? 30 years ago, you would have probably said white person from such and such a place. You may not have felt when you said that it was a racist thing to say, but it was. But that's because of the poison that's been in the ether for all of us. I think we're different now. We have a lot of people who are fighting what America has fought to become. This multiracial, open opportunity for all Americans. The idea that when Kamala Harris was put forward as the candidate, oh, it's only because she's black. Do you know how insulting that is? Not just to her, but every black person, every Asian person, every Latin person, every person that's different from what you used to think America was, what you used to only accept as American was a white, male mostly, and then female sometimes. We've all been poisoned with the whispers of who this group are and who this group are, who this group are, and how smart they are, and they do this and they can't drive, and so forth and so on and so on. We've all been poisoned. We all have those little prejudices in us. I'm going to suggest that when those thoughts come up, because they're going to, none of us are perfect, you make a decision. You know what? That's not who I want to be. That's not who I am. I'm rejecting that thought. I think a lot of us already do that. I hope and pray most of us already do that. But we're going to have to self-govern and our own minds. And when we're in that crowd of people and you hear that racist BS, be the person who tells the person who is saying it, stop that. White allies or Asian allies or Latin allies or black allies, we got to get over this. We got to get over this. All right, Mr. Terry Briscoe. Damon Adams, what up? Urban Legend. You know, and once again, there's a whole conversation going on behind the scenes here. By the way, if you are on Twitter right now, for some reason Twitter wouldn't work. Talk about, I ran across an article about discontinued sports. These were sports that were in the Olympics that aren't anymore. I mentioned one of them, which was the pigeon shooting. There used to be tug of war. And those of you who, might be in 50, 60, you might have done tug of war in school. Hey, you might still be doing it. Well, it was an Olympic sport for a while. Guess what? Video games are going to become an Olympic sport sometime. They've got sport climbing. Did you see the sport climbing? You know how you go to those and you climb the rock wall? It's an Olympic sport now. I saw a guy, he basically ran up the wall. It looked like Spider-Man. Skateboarding, Olympic sport now. Surfing. I think this was the first year surfing was an Olympic sport. And, of course, if you were in Paris for the Olympics, you couldn't see it because it was in the Pacific Ocean someplace. They used to have solo synchronized swimming. How did they know if you made a mistake? There was life saving. I guess they put somebody out there or something out there and you had to go out and save it. Um, they had ski ballet. So you're on the snow in your skis and you're doing ski ballet. That must have been interesting. There was hot air ballooning. Interesting. Uh, this one blew my mind. Painting and sculpture was an Olympic sport from 1912 to 1948. Painting and sculpture. Now, was this a speed thing? Uh, did the judges, you did it this fast and the judges had to decide how good the art was? Maybe that's why it's not there anymore, because art is in the eye of the beholder. Um, they had running deer shooting. And no, they actually weren't shooting real deer, but you would run through the woods and they would have targets that looked like deers and you'd stop and have to shoot them. Rope climbing. Now, I remember rope climbing from junior high school. They had the ropes hanging down and you climb up. That was an Olympic sport. Obstacle swimming? What were the obstacles? Sharks? And deep diving. Not how beautiful your flips were and did you splash any water, but how far down could you dive? Crazy. And pistol dueling. I don't know how they did that. I'm going to do a little more research and find out. I hope nobody got killed when they were doing pistol searching. So this is kind of a different Ask Dave if You Know Anything. We weren't talking that much about voiceover. Just kind of getting some things off my chest, letting you know how I feel, hopefully finding out how you feel about the world we're living in. We are in very interesting times, which, by the way, is a Chinese curse. May you live in interesting times. Democracy is on the line. Donald Trump, if he becomes president again, there will be no other election. Frankly, I don't understand how the people who support him, what they like about him. He is a despicable human being. And once again, I don't think our politicians have to be perfect, but they shouldn't be the worst people we know. Let's see. Tayani Ma. There's a great resource called the Anti-Racist Handbook, Racism Handbook, by Dr. Bryant and Dr. Arrington for allies and people of color. It was a great read. You know what? I haven't read that. I think I've seen that, and somebody mentioned it to me. I'm going to check that out. The Anti-Racism Handbook. I'm going to go back to something I was saying again, because I hope you are getting my point. We're all racists. We can't help it. It's not that we necessarily want to be, or even that we are going to remain racist. But we've been fed a lot of bullshit. The messages about who we are untrue, even to ourselves. Often as a black person, we have believed a hype that we have to be this instead of that. That we have to be cool, we have to be this other thing. There are so many things that, you're supposed to check off these boxes if you're whatever this person is. If you're Irish, got to check off these boxes. If you're Asian, you got to check off these boxes. Latino, got to check off these boxes. And we expect those boxes to somehow be checked off with those groups that are not us. I remember playing tennis. I played tennis for a long time. My father was a tennis player. He taught me how to play tennis. And I remember being on a tennis court in Altadena, and some brothers came by and they were, why are you playing that white sport? I remember growing up as a kid. My mother from East Texas was a school teacher. You would never know that she was from East Texas. My father spoke well as well. And I would often hear, "Oh man, you talk like a white boy." Why do we do that to each other? Why? It's not just this group, it's all of us. It's all of us. We've got a lot that we have to excise out of ourselves. Anyway, let's got another thought here. Johnny App Gaming, what kinds of things do you dislike about Trump? Well, let's see. He's not kind. He lies constantly. He is a thief. He has never had a successful business. Anybody who has a casino and can't make a casino successful is not a good businessman. I don't like the fact that when John McCain was running, well, I like soldiers that weren't caught. John McCain was a hero. I don't like the fact that when he went to Europe for D-Day, when he was president, he didn't want to take pictures with soldiers who had been wounded and were in wheelchairs because he said it wasn't a good look for him. He didn't, looking at the soldiers' graves, they were suckers. What did they get? You know, believe me, I'm not a warmonger. But there's something about giving that last measure for your country, especially in a cause like World War II. Not all wars are righteous. World War II was a righteous war. Often that generation, my father's generation, has been called the greatest generation. And they're called that because as very young men, they went to Europe and the Pacific and North Africa and fought to save the world from Nazis. Fought to end Hitler and the Nazis killing 6 million Jews, 6 million other people, Serbs and Gypsies. We talk about the 6 million Jews a lot. We don't talk about the other 6 million people that they killed. We also don't talk about the millions of black Africans that Europeans killed colonizing Africa to the tune of tens of millions. We also don't talk about Europe and the United States having a plan. It's beginning to unravel that Africa will not be able to build anything. They have all the natural resources that the world needs. Europe and the United States has been stealing those natural resources for years. That's going to end. That's going to end. The artwork, the African artwork, the diamonds, the gold that was stolen and taken to Europe and put in museums. And even those, they said, these people have no culture, so forth and so on. But they wanted that art. Now some of that is being returned. Scholars are learning now, there was a lot of talk, Africans didn't have any language. They didn't write anything down. There are great libraries in Africa with books that are older than anything in Europe. These are things, information that a certain amount of the population doesn't want you to know and doesn't believe because they've been told, they've been poisoned by the people who came before them that didn't want them to know about the contributions of various groups of people on this planet to culture. A couple of years ago, I wrote the foreword in a book. It was an art book from War for Wakanda, the video game. And we talked about the contributions of the Moors in Spain. Europe was in the Dark Ages. Where did Europe get streetlights? Where did Europe get fashion? Where did Europe learn to brush their teeth, eat a variety of foods in their meals, have culture? All the universities were in Africa and in the Middle East. The oldest college in the world, oldest university in the world, in Africa. Europe was civilized by the Moors. It's not in your history books, but that's the truth. Let's see what we got here. Johnny App Gaming. I understand your views. I wish that politics and the separation of people did not exist. Seems like a lot of time and energy is being spent on these kinds of things when it should be spent elsewhere. When you say time and energy spent on these things, I wish you could make that more clear. I think probably one of the most important things for us to spend energy on is living together, is understanding one another, taking care of one another. Often when you're talking to, say, a white person and you're telling them information that they have not had, they've been kept in the dark about who you really are, who your ancestors really are, and what their ancestors may have done. And now, oh, this hurts my feelings. You're trying to make me feel bad. No, we're not trying to make you feel bad. I don't care how far back you go with anybody's family. You're going to find some crooks, some wonderful people, people you won't have nothing to do with, but people that you're going to be very proud of. That is just the nature of the people who came before us. Some of them good, some of them bad. Some groups of people did some terrible things to some other groups of people. You didn't do it, did you? What we're asking is not to feel bad about what your ancestors did. It's to dismantle the systems that do the harm to the people who are still here, the people who are here now. It's not going to happen by, oh, we're going to keep you from reading these books. We're not going to teach this information because it's going to hurt some kid's feeling. You know, if your kid, if black kids can be in school and be at the effect of racism, white kids can learn about it. And it's not about making those white kids feel bad. It's about what is the history, what is the truth. It's that. And because you know some things about history, I don't Malcolm X say, oh, white folks are the devil. I don't think you're the devil. I don't think white folks are the devil. I think as a society, there was a time in this world where really horrible things were done because of a belief system perpetrated to justify things like slavery. We don't have to continue that. You don't have to continue that. So I'm just going to suggest, when these things come up, be open to the idea that ancestors of yours may have done some terrible things. But I bet some ancestors of yours also did some great things. You know, when you talk about the Civil War, there was a whole lot of white folks fighting on the northern side that sacrificed their lives to free slaves. It wasn't all just people fighting on the side of the South to keep slavery. And a lot of those people that are fighting on the side of the South, they'd been fed a line of bullshit. They'd been convinced by the wealthy class that this is against you. What do you think wages were like for poor whites in slavery America? They had nothing. They had nothing. All they had was, at least I'm not a slave. Thank you for sharing that thought, Johnny Apps Gaming. I know sometimes these are things you don't want to think about. I'm going to suggest that as a black American, these are things I've always had to think about. Damon Allums, Malcolm X pivoted from the all white folks are devils after his Hajj. Absolutely, absolutely. And it was unfair of me not to mention that. Once he had gone to Mecca and he saw all these Muslims of every color, white, black, Asian, he came back and was a different person. And then he was assassinated. And that's the journey that we as people, as Americans, really need to be on. I see the stories of former Ku Klux Klan members, former racist people who learned and went, wow. And guess what? I feel better about me now that I don't have this thing, this hate, this need to belittle other people, to make myself feel better. Oh, we're all cool. We're all good, and we can be. But we have a ways to go. Afro power. It's a scientific fact that blacks are the first people of the planet. Second was Asians, and last was whites. So, of course, we are the inventors of civilization. And that's true, too. That is absolutely true, too. Man came out of Africa and then spread. It's just the truth. It's just the truth. The oldest civilizations are black people. As a black person, these are things I always think about, for real. You know that it's very true. A secret for white folks, my white friends, and once again, a lot of friends of all persuasions. Love them all dearly. But when you grow up black, there are things you have to think about that other people don't. I had to have that talk when I was a kid. My mother, son, this is, every time I left the house, son, you represent the family and the race. That's a lot for, 5 or 6 year old kid. I represent the family and the race? Oh my God. I remember my mother being pulled over by a cop. When I was a little kid, I was in the car and she was crying. I didn't realize why she was crying because they didn't divulge to me exactly how precarious the state of being a black American was. I remember my father's car got stolen. We called the police and the policeman came to the door and the first thing he said was, well, how many car payments behind are you? Joy West. I also wonder where is the outrage over the cruelty happening to women in places like Nigeria, where women and girls like Leah Sharibu are still being held by Boko Haram. So true, so true, so true. And you bring up a good point. Evil is not just being done by this group or that group. Everywhere you go, you're going to find some good people, you're going to find some bad people. You're going to find some people doing things that are horrific. It's not about this race, that race. It's about, are we good, are we evil? Are we enlightened, are we in the dark? I look at what Islam shows up like today. In so many places, we don't want women to learn anything. We don't want to do so. There was a time when Islam and the Middle East was where science flourished. While Europe was in the Dark Ages, 1,000 years ago, this is where universities were. They were in the Middle East. They were in Africa. So many of the great European thinkers that we know of now that are praised, the things they discovered had already been discovered. You know, when we, so much. You know what? It's 7 o'clock. I have rambled on long enough. Now, what I hope, you know, we don't often have these conversations. I'm not going to always do this with Ask Dave or anything. But my hope is those of you who stuck with this and are listening, that you learned something, that it opened your mind and heart a little bit to something. Not that I think you were bad people before, but sometimes we just need to open up and really find out what people are thinking. Learn some information we didn't know. Be able to adjust our point of view on things. Until next time, we'll see you next week. And of course, what do I want you to do between now and then? I want you to book something. See ya.